And welcome back to tonight's Big Picture Rumble. Still with me, Scott Greer, Sam Sachs, and Kevin Martin. Moving along to the Fight for 15 movement, Labor Secretary Tom Perez told the Huffington Post that he is proud to stand with the Fight for 15 movement, and it really is a movement. It's for shared prosperity, he said. This isn't a wholesale endorsement. The White House and the Labor Department have both come out in favor of a $12 federal minimum wage rather than the $15 that many workers are fighting for. But our Labor Secretary pointed out that when he visited Seattle, which recently raised its minimum wage to $15, he didn't see the economic doomsday effect that conservatives had predicted. In fact, he said, quote, "I didn't see restaurants closing down. If the critics are correct, I should have brought a bag lunch," end quote. Shouldn't an adult working a full-time job be able to avoid living in poverty in the richest country in the world?
Well, raising the minimum wage to $15 is not going to do that. That's only going to pave the pathway to more unemployment and encourage more companies to go to automation or even to go to illegal labor like we just discussed.
You didn't answer my question.
Well, we shouldn't, but the problem is raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour is not going to do that. I think it's fine if cities like Seattle and other cities they can handle it.
Let's break these apart. So, first of all, are we all in agreement that if a person in the United States of America, the richest country in the world, works 40 hours a week and keeps their nose clean, that they shouldn't live in poverty? Are we all in agreement on that?
I can agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we do it?
Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. One, you can raise the minimum wage to 15 and probably higher in a lot of cases in a lot of big cities of people working and have big families. You could do something like a universal basic income where people just for living and breathing collect $20,000 to $30,000 a year. I know you're laughing over there, but that would actually be very good for society. They'd be spending money. They'd be generating revenue for businesses who would be hiring people. There's actually plenty of money to pay for it if you start taxing wealthy people the way we used to tax wealthy people.
And corporations.
I love this tax wealthy people, tax wealthy people. My father used to say, I have to say it about wealthy people. Wealthy people always find a way to keep money. And if you talk about tax and wealth, they're just going to simply move.
But see, they didn't before Reagan. Before Reagan, the average CEO made 30 times what the average worker makes. Right now, you got CEOs making 12,000 times.
You're saying, Rich, and isn't that funny? I'm glad you brought that up. And it seems that the CEO who makes the most money in this country compared to his employees works for a liberal outfit called Discovery.
I think the most highly paid CEO in the United States is Stephen J. Hemsley. He's taking
No, they just said that. They just said that in the corporate news today.
Yeah, if you're looking,
if you compare the employees who work in Discovery to the CEO,
if you're looking at salaries versus total compensation, the total compensation is what really counts.
And that's what we talk about. Everyone keeps talking about a wage. What about salary jobs? You shouldn't make $15 if you're flipping or making salads at Olive Garden. Now, if you're in the healthcare industry and you provide healthcare,
that's the only job you have, and that's the only way you can provide for a family, and you work 40 hours a week. You keep your nose clean at McDonald's. You shouldn't be able to live.
What if you got an IQ?
Who the hell wants to live off a job working at McDonald's? Who in their right mind?
Nobody. But in case you haven't noticed,
two kids in the house and you work at McDonald's.
There's 2 or 3 or 4 people looking for every one job that's available out there. Not everybody gets the dream job that they want. Some people have to work.
There's only going to be more after
temporary that turns to a couple of years.
Hang on just a second. In direct answer to your question, Kevin. The average IQ in the United States is 100. That's why it's the average. That's 100, right? Which means that for every 10 people who are at 120, smart people like you got the same number of people who are at 80. Now, you ask the question, who's going to work at Olive Garden? And it's going to be those people who can't acquire the job skills. They don't have the metal equipment for it. But they can work. Shouldn't a person who works, regardless of their IQ or ability, if they're working full-time in the United States, shouldn't they not live in poverty?
It's called an unskilled, menial job. Right. You're telling me that somebody
has to do that job, though, right?
Can I finish my point? Thank you.
You can finish your
I guess I started this. I'm sorry.
Somebody who operates a crane should make $45 an hour, yet some guy who flips burgers should make $15?
Yes.
Somebody has to flip the burgers, right?
That's my point.
I can design a machine to flip burgers.
All right, well, somebody's going to have to do some of these jobs that you're talking about. Are we going to condemn them to poverty for the rest of their life? Is that what we're going to do? Because somebody has to do it.
If you're working at McDonald's, you are in poverty. Okay?
Right, that's the problem. That's what we're trying to fix.
I thought we all agreed that shouldn't be the case.
What you're trying to fix, somebody who is 45 years old working at McDonald's, that is a shame in America.
It is a shame, but they shouldn't be condemned to death and poverty. We should be able to take care of them because we're the richest country on earth, right?
Yeah.
They should be able to take care of themselves. What about the individual? I hate this liberal collectivist. We. What about
it's the first word of the Constitution, Kevin.
Yes, it is the
it's
first
the
word.
idea on which this country was founded.
Yeah, we the people.
We the people. That's right.
Have an alienable right, individual right,
No, it doesn't say individual right.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The Constitution is a socialist document.
Yeah, right. Sure, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know about the Constitution being a socialist document.
Of course,
but all the minimum wage is going to do is encourage. He says that there's 2 or 3 people looking for every job, and then there's going to be 5 or 6 people looking for every job if we pass the $15.
That's how it happened in Seattle.
The studies don't bear that out.
But the studies don't account for that these corporations are going to go to automation and illegal labor in other ways.
Raising the minimum wage leads to job losses. They can never find it. It doesn't exist.
It does exist. Whenever these things happen, do you think a company like McDonald's is going to start paying everyone $15 an hour when they can go cheaper and just get automation? Do you think they're actually going to do it? They're going to get, but they're never going to get that law passed.
Automation?
I didn't say I'm going to outlaw automation. I said McDonald's would pay $15 if that was the law.
If that's the law, if $15 an hour is the law, what's prevent me from automating the whole system?
Okay, so apparently we have no answers to the question of how do we keep people out of poverty if they work 40 hours a week, other than raising the minimum wage. Anyhow, the stock market plummeted when it opened earlier this week, continuing a downward spiral that started with an abysmal close on Friday. The Dow dropped 1,000 points, and that hurt a lot of people's 401ks. And a lot more people would have lost their retirements if Republicans like Jeb Bush, Rand Paul, and Ted Cruz, among others, had their way and Social Security were partially and completely privatized. So are the proponents of 401ks and privatizing Social Security just out of their minds? Or are they hoping to profit off people's lost retirements? The average 401k, by the way, over about a 30-year lifespan accumulates about $100,000 worth of fees for Wall Street. It's a scam.
I don't think they're out of their minds because for the 1% that makes a lot of sense, but for everyone else that doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Social Security should be publicly run by the government. I don't think believing it, taking it out in 401ks, there's only a few amount of people who are going to be able to benefit much more by that way than the system we have now. We need to reform it the way it is now and not privatize it.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I mean, Social Security is a cash cow. That's why bankers want to get on it and skim off the top of it. And unfortunately, they're going to keep trying to do this until they see that it's a complete failure. Bush tried to do it when he was elected in 2000. Had he succeeded, we would have seen millions of senior citizens wiped out during the Great Recession. Yeah. And only then would we be able to conclude that this is a horrible idea. Luckily, that didn't happen, but unfortunately, we keep hearing people bringing up this idea.
In fact, it was 2005. It was right after he won that election. He said, I got political capital from fighting a war, and I'm going to use it to privatize Social Security. Yeah. So, anyway, all right. Alabama was one of a series of red states that moved to suppress the vote with voter ID suppression laws after the Supreme Court struck down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. And for those Alabamans who lack acceptable forms of voter ID, it could soon get even harder to vote. That's because part of Alabama's push to find a solution to its budget woes, the state government is going to be closing down, or is considering closing down, most of its DMV facilities, the place where you go to get a voter ID. Just in time for the election. Isn't this classic Republican behavior?
Yeah, and during all these voter ID laws, you've heard conservatives say, I don't see what the big deal is. It's so easy to go get an ID. You just go and you drive down to the DMV and get it, as though they've
Scott
never
Walker
been to
closed
the
them
DMV
all over
exactly.
Washington or all over Wisconsin and moved them back to just Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right, so I guess what is the argument now when they say it's so easy, even though there's no DMVs around to go get these things?
Yeah. Isn't it?
I mean, you can do the application online in Pennsylvania and then go down there the next day and get a driver's
You can't in Alabama.
But
in Alabama.
Okay,
just
so
in time for the
this
election.
could be easily solved by forcing Alabama to make it more easy.
So you want a big government solution? You want the federal government?
Not the federal government, but I think the people of Alabama should see it as a problem and make sure their legislatures, their representatives, go to this and fix this problem.
Alabama has a really good history of looking out for minorities and legislating on their behalf.
So Tom, what's the problem? I go online, I buy something from Amazon and arrives at my door the next day. Why can't I go online, fill out an application in Alabama, and go get my driver's license?
Why can't you just be registered automatically?
Kevin gets the last word.
Way.
We got to wrap it up. Scott Greer, Sam Six, Kevin Martin. Thank you all.
Thank you.